In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, family, and welcome to another powerful episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King, and tonight we step into the world of visual storytelling, a world where images don't just capture moments, they capture truth. For more than 4 decades, our guest has been a quiet giant in the creative land space, a man whose lens has witnessed history, culture, community, and the evolution of Black expression. His work is not just art, it is testimony, it is memory, it is legacy. In a time when our stories are often filtered, flattened, or forgotten, he has insisted on preserving them with dignity, depth, and intention. His portraits breathe, his conceptual pieces challenge, his digital compositions remind us that creativity is both a gift and a responsibility. Tonight, we honor a life dedicated to craft, culture, and community. We honor a man shaped by powerful influences from the unwavering strength of his aunt, Virginia Richardson, to the trailblazing brilliance of Sidney Poitier, to the visionary empire building of Barry Gordy. This is not just an interview. This is a celebration of Black history, and Black uh, perseverance. Let's begin, ladies and gentlemen, and let's welcome Mr. Richard Mack to the show. Hello, sir.
Hey,
How
how are
are
you?
you?
I'm good, thanks.
Well, it's good to have you here on the show. Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we get into the show?
Just be blessed. Stay strong. Can you hear me?
Well, yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Well, let's get into the show, and we'll start with where I like to get the audience to have the opportunity to learn a whole lot more about who you are. So, can you tell us, when you look back over 40 years of creativity, what moment feels like the true beginning of your artistic journey?
I think something just blocked us real quick. Okay. I it had to be that day I was walking down the street in Manhattan and passed by the New York Museum and they were having a display of Robert Mapplethorpe.
Okay.
Are you familiar? Well, what it was that everybody was so dressed, and there was limousines and what have you for this opening. So later on during the week, I decided to stop by just to see who it was and what it was that was causing all this friction. It was a display of Black American men,
Okay.
but the negativity that behind it just floored me. And at that same time, I was just trying to decide whether I was going to go in the military or not. But it just depended on what I was going to do in it when I made my decision. And looking at that exhibit, it didn't look like anybody I knew. And just the thought of that type of image being put out there about Black men in general, especially during the 70s, when there was a lot of tension going on anyway. So that's what made me decide well, let me try the creative side. Aside from the fact that I grew up as a Motown baby, so I wanted that entertainment side as well.
Right. Well, so what was your childhood relationship with art, imagery, and storytelling?
Well, uh, guess the favorite lady well, one of the favorite ladies in my life was my aunt. She was a hairstylist. I think they called them beauticians back then.
Yeah.
But she had a sense of style, and always was going for what not so much trendy, but what was more elegant and more ladylike for that era. And just to watch her transform herself and transform some of the women was kind of like, I guess it instilled a seed about change and creating. Now, don't get me wrong, I never wanted to do hair. It was just too much. But I went to FIT for a while to study fashion design. But just like most colleges, and I went to Pace University as well, but I always felt that I should be able to take just the courses that I think I'm going to use, as opposed to all those excess courses they make you take to keep you in it for 4 years. But FIT gave me a strong sense of what I wanted to do. Now, when I decided to go in the military, they give you a list of jobs that you can pick from. And I figured, well, since there was a recession going on at the time, I was 24 years old, and I had to figure out a way that I could jet set around the world without having to pay for it. That's how the Navy came about.
Right.
I was supposed to go in like November, but I didn't go in until the following March because I had to wait till they offer me a school or a job where I wasn't going to get one. I wasn't going to be dirty all day, and I wasn't cooking all day. So it was a choice between journalism and photography. And so the photography, I say, well, it's good. This way I can move. When I get out, I can go to Motown. I can start working with the reps. That was my mindset. But my first 2 years, I was stationed in Japan, and I met some models, some black models that was over there for work. So I figured I'd practice for them, and come to find out, that was something that I seemed to excel in. But then I got bored with the fact of just models after models after models. There was no changing. That's when I got into fine arts. I just wanted to take the photograph itself, and I had someone who taught me how to paint on top of a photograph. So, and that's how that got started like that. I just really got into the fine art part, and I just never left it. The only thing is, I'm going to transition it into only black art. And try to tell our story through the combination of the two. And like now, everything is pretty much going to AI. And a lot of people have the wrong idea of what AI is, as far as, especially with artwork. But I'm trying to combine every element there is when it comes to creating, like paint, pencils, photography, photograph itself, and any other medium that I can think of. I tried that, and also keeps your work from being the same as everybody else's. The more elements you combine, the more different the picture will be.
So what was it about the creative process that intrigued you so that it drew you in?
Seeing it just change, seeing how you can take something, like when I first started doing pictures of celebrities, I would take older pictures that they had, that, a lot of times you see it and you just throw it away or you put it in the drawer. I felt like if it was really that good, why can't it exist longer? So I would take like a picture, say maybe somebody took it in, say 2000, and then take it and paint on it, bring it up to a concept where it would fit into a home in 2026.
Oh, wow.
You see? Because some pictures were so great back then, and then just to discard them, it just seemed like a waste, especially to the artists that did it in the beginning.
Right. Well, see, that's that in itself, I mean, that's a real serious thought process, because I'm just thinking, and I don't know, because, this is your specialty, but just as I'm thinking about that, and, maybe somebody has done this painting, let's say if it was a painting like in 1955,
right?
Would that be, is that like another picture that you're able to paint on and bring to life?
Well, it's yes, but then you have to do it with color tones are important, because some color tones from back in the 50s, they were more muted. Whereas now, I can take any picture and I can make you 12 versions of that same picture, the same frame, to fit your color scheme of your room or the taste of your room.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and I think that's where my little edge, if you want to call it that, comes in. I can, and it also helps to build legacy.
Right.
Like if you use a picture of a family portrait or something, it can be passed down. Now in 2023, I think it was, that Biden signed into law that vetted artists, their work would start to gain monetarily, not from years and years down the road, actually from the time that they signed it. So with the wealth gap being what it was between Black people and the rest, this was a way I can help my own people. They can take a photograph that they have and I can redo it and I'll sign it and give you a certificate for it. And this way, even if you don't keep it up, you can always pass it down. And over the years, it will gain, some value, more value. I think it has value from the day I look at it.
So, who first recognized your talent before you recognized it in yourself?
I'm going to leave her out of that. Did you say who?
Yes.
Again, I have to bring up my aunt. I had an incredible aunt. What can I say? I think she saw it, and what she wanted to do was she nurtured it. She's the one that wanted to make sure that I learned all the forks on the table in a fine dining area. She wanted me to learn how to wear a shirt and tie and how to be a gentleman and stuff like the most thing I can remember her telling me once was learn a little bit about a lot of things. That way you can speak with anyone about anything. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of always stuck with me. As you can see, I do talk a lot sometimes, but then other days I go complete opposite, won't say a word.
Well, I'll tell you this, I think our audience would definitely appreciate, the craft and the things that you do and how you're doing them, because, when you just think about it, and I know for those that may not be familiar, in our magazine, it was Richard's art that we were using in the magazine.
And I thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So what role did Jersey City play in shaping your artistic identity?
Well, growing up in an inner city in the 70s, anywhere in the United States, I think it was, if you have any sense of artistic ability at all, it would have come out then. Because, we had this concept, let's say the public outside of our neighborhoods, called it the ghetto, and then you had the shows like Good Times or what have you. They had this mindset of who we were, and it fits right along with that pattern of Maple folks' work. It just wasn't that way in every Black neighborhood. But it was the stories. It was the card parties. It was the way people communicated. It was just a really cool energy, that Black people had in our neighborhoods back then. Then I remember when the Panthers came about, they opened up like a brownstone in my neighborhood, and they were feeding the kids and helping people out. But at that time, the police were kind of running rimshot through our neighborhoods, and so they was protecting the neighborhood. Which it gave me that sense of a call to duty, for lack of better words. Although I was too young, I was only 12, but when they first came about. But the thing is, sometimes things are instilled in you when you're young that you carry through to the end. And giving back to my people, to my tribe, has always been my major forte.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what was, what can you tell us? Was there a defining moment when you realized photography would become your life's work?
When I in the military, I was fortunate enough to be on a protocol ship, which was one that carried an admiral, like one of the admirals from, mine was the 7th Fleet. So we didn't really do a whole lot of combat stuff. At least that was my first duty station. But we traveled to so many different places, and they would always let the sailors go out on leave. So when the dignitaries came on, they wouldn't be there, carrying on. I would stay in the photo lab. everybody was out drinking and chasing women and what have you. But I just couldn't get over the fact that I can do so much with some liquid in a pan because I was hand processing photographs back then. You with me?
Yes, sir.
And so it was. Guess it was just the magic of the development when you're watching it just appear right before your face. And I just wanted to be good at it.
Yeah, but so with all that and even getting into the photography, how did you decide how you would have those two, you being an artist as well as a photographer? How did you decide that you would merge those together and have them work as one big adventure?
Well, I knew that. Again, we're going to go back to the legacy thing. I believe that you're supposed to leave something behind when you do pass on. And we're not really. I can't say we as a whole because I can't speak for everybody. But I know that it was never really talked about or pushed that you leave something behind that's going to make another person's life better. So this is something I picked up along the way. And then there's still a whole lot of not so much intentional segregation. It's like when I went to in the military, and when I went to the photo lab, there was only 2 Black people in the whole lab of 42 people. You see, and everything that we were taught was taught in a way that didn't tap into the way my eyes see things. In fact, it's supposed to be a 12-week course going to school in Pensacola, Florida. Okay. I think I wanted to see like 18 weeks because I kept failing because I kept doing it and seeing it differently. And, they're really stringent about, how fast the sun hits the film plane. That wasn't important to me. It was the composition that was important to me or the way the person was standing. And then when you look at a lot of the older pictures, and say back in the 40s and 50s, they always had this stiff pose. Everybody was just dressed to the nines, just stiff. And I just felt that wasn't my people. We don't do that. So that's when I learned my own style was I don't pose anybody. I didn't do it then and I don't do it now. I'll sit you where I need you to be. And we just start a conversation and I will move around you and catch you in certain expressions as you speak that will give me what I think it is that's really you.
Okay.
When it comes to celebrities and stuff like that, they're a little different because, of course, they have demands. But they're not my main focus either. My main focus is, I'm don't get me wrong, I have a collection out now, is black icons, because I think some people just should never be forgotten. They've contributed so much, especially if they're still living today. Mm-hmm. But I like the regular folks around me every day. Those ones, because we have some of the most unique faces and bodies in our neighborhood that you'll never see. You see anywhere, no matter where in the country you go, or even outside the country. When you see black skin, black faces, the whole, just the aura that we have, that the camera just loves it. You know what I mean? So I never shot any other race but my people. And I know that's going to make some people think that, or you're putting yourself in a box. I feel like this: I can live 7 more lives and live 100 years each one, and I will never be able to capture all the things that black people have to show.
Right.
It's like a never-ending well. So why do I need to venture on the other side? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it for those who do it. It's just that I had to keep focus on my folks. So when I do leave this earth, I will have left enough work of my stuff and my people so that we don't be marginalized like we are now in the art sphere of things. Because every time I've tried to do a show, and I say try because I just can't do them. A collective show. When it comes to black art, they always want us to have baskets on our heads and carrying fruits and stuff. And that's just not all of us. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not all of us. Some of us actually wear regular clothes, So, and there's going to be a time when this era that we're living in now, or this space that we're living in now, is going to be different from the next 50 years or so. So it'd be nice to look back and see us being our natural selves. I don't mean the bell bottoms now.
The point you make is a really, really good point, because when I think of, and I know I'm a little bit younger than you, but I think we're probably close in age. But I
Mhm.
just think that when we look back and we see photos that were taken of Black people, it wasn't really contextualized properly to me.
Exactly.
And so, in just thinking about that, can you explain to the audience exactly what that means as to why you say you can see and you can shoot, Black people and what they look like so well in the pictures?
The If I had to give a reason why, I think it's an individual thing, and it's what you choose to see.
Okay.
Um, it's like a lot of photographers, especially male photographers, right? Don't really go the extra mile when it comes to shooting a male model or a
Okay.
male period. It's that machismo thing that gets in the way. Me, you're like my brother. You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, you could be like, that's why I look at them all because one, it's never going to be anything other than that because you're not going to interfere with my funds. But the point is, I I want to go the extra mile because that way it keeps me a little bit, give me a little edge opposed to my competition, so to speak. And you can't copy what I do. I mean, sure, there's only so many poses you can put a person in, granted, but it's more than just the pose. It's the lasting effect. Like when I tell them what to wear, I don't believe in wearing things that's going to say, "Oh yeah, I remember those shirts from the 1970s." You know, the dog-eared collars and stuff like that. I try to keep everything simple. That way, it's timeless. That way, the only thing you really focus on is the expression on the face, or if there's something that this person is focused on, and that's the intent of the picture. But like high tops, I mean sweat socks with the little stripes around the top and all that stuff, or anything that's going to put you in a capsule of time, I don't want it on my pictures because
Oh, wow.
you need to be able to look at it 30 years from now and not somebody say, oh, instead of seeing who you are and in the pictures, they say, oh, I remember that outfit. I remember they used to wear polyester. That takes away from the whole idea. So I take away that
Okay.
distraction. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, how did your family respond to your creative ambitions early on?
Well, let's just say this. Before I even thought about the photography part, I, s- I wanted to be on stage. Not that I can sing because I can't, but there were no black people on TV that was like major, except for I remember watching was it Carol Burnett, I think it was. She had one black male dancer in that whole cast on her show, and my mother looked at me and said, "Listen, no, you can't do that because you need to eat. You can't do that. You need to eat, and you're not gonna make no money."
Right.
So I still wanted to be in the theater somehow, but then there was Lee Strasberg in New York. They had a really well-known school.
Mhm.
Again, it was just me and my mother, no father in the house. So whatever she said goes. And my mother's no joke; she's a Leo. So she said, "You get something in your head first, and then you decide. But right now, this acting thing, no, because no." And I think we had the first leading black female on TV was Diane Carroll with Julia. And so
Yes.
she was turning the channel. She said, "Do you see us anyplace else? Do you see us anyplace else?" Turn the channel, letting me know that you're not going to be on TV. And so I said, "Okay." So but in high school, I just kept thinking there's got to be a way, and that's when Motown was really popping. Like in the '70s, it was like Marvin Gaye, everybody was popping out. So I'm thinking, well, I'll get over to Detroit somehow or another, and fit in there somehow. Not that didn't happen, because by the time I got out of high school, most I was probably about to move to LA. They had no need for me, and I know I couldn't get there. So, but I still wanted that energy. I wanted that lifestyle, and I thought I had always planned that once I got out of high school, I was going to do the jet setting thing. I was going to meet the right people in New York, and I was just going to hook up. It's just going to be magically what's going to happen. Nothing. It didn't happen. And the recession came and stayed. We had to get gas twice a week, or depending on your license plate.
Yep.
So I said, and I think I was just turning 24, and I said, well, it's time for me to do something else different. So I said, well, I'm still going to see the world, but I'll do it on Uncle Sam's dime. You see, I was getting up out of there. And actually, it wasn't a bad choice. I mean, the military serves a point as far as opening your eyes so you get to see even more. Now, most people would probably think that since you go so many places, you're taking a whole lot of pictures. I didn't do that. I can't really show you one picture from out of all the 27 different countries I've been to because I'm focused on my people. That's the only thing I shoot. I got over 40,000 photographs, 40,000, but they're all my folks.
Oh wow. That's really interesting though. I mean, so did you prefer like just taking pictures, or did you wish and want to have more pictures taken of you?
Oh, I hardly ever take a picture. I only take one when I have to. I had to take one for you.
Right.
Um, I, it's just the challenge of it. Because everybody would say, well, oh, well, it's the same thing, same people, same thing all the time. It's not the same because I see things differently. I can look at anybody and find that best point that the way I'll shoot you, and it can be one frame. I mean, I've taken pictures of people that I did on the slide, like they was talking and I just took the shot and then I showed it to them later. But then I will make 12 versions of that one shot because there is something about every human being. Probably, but I can only speak for Black folks because that's where I see it. Is that there's something that's just unique about them. It don't have to always be beautiful. It don't always have to be extremely handsome. It's just got to be unique, Now, family support, I can't say that it's not there, but I can't say that it's there either because sometimes I show my mother my work, just for conversation's sake, and she'll start talking and she'll look at it, then she'll talk about another relative or something. She won't talk anything about the artwork. She just don't, it's not her thing. But, and then she always want to know, are you making money from it? If you're making money from it, she's fine. Okay. And I can understand that because she wants you to be successful. But I went to Pace University to study accounting. Mm-hmm. Why? When math was my worst subject.
Wait. Why would you do that?
Because during that time, we would always talk to the elders in the family, the older people, and they were like, be an accountant, be a this and that, do something that you're gonna make some money at. Not thinking that maybe you're not geared for that. And the last thing you want to tell them is that you want to do art.
Right.
Hell no, you're not making no money doing that. But and my mother, she was definitely one of those people. She was like, if I told her that I want the rest of my life to be an artist, and I want to, she said, you must want to eat. That was her thing. And she shut it down like that. And since I didn't have a male figure in the house to help battle for me, because sometimes, your mother can say one thing, but the father will kind of smooth that over and then you might get a shot. My mother wasn't trying to hear it. She wasn't trying to. But I think she saw it like when I won the National Black Arts Festival in the 80s. I think that was the first time I won something. And she was happy, I guess, but she, since she really has no concept of that art world, it didn't really bowl her over or nothing. Then I was stationed in California, and I had my first big art show. My first art show was at this really nice place. A friend of mine's father had a luxury car dealership, so he let me use his his showroom to display my work and have a show there. I flew her out just to see it. My mother, she sat there, she looked at it, and she said, "Oh well, is this it?" So that was. I forgot the question now. I started thinking back about the show, and I just kind of lost train of what you were saying about the question.
It was about how did your family respond to your creative ambitions early on?
Unfortunately, I don't have a very large family, so it's a very short answer. My aunt was loving it. My mother was like, as long as she can eat. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think that, and then you have to understand that for the majority of these 40-something years that I've been doing this, I haven't really been putting it out there. it's something about me. I'll over tweak it, or I get very possessive of it. So and it doesn't make any sense, but that's the way I am. But this last year, maybe 2 years now, I've been putting it out there more because it's been being asked for now. Now I'm not chasing it; it's chasing me. And I think that's the way it should be, but it's just that, I wish that happened maybe 20 years ago, or 20 years ago would have been nice, but it happens the way it's going to happen. Art is just like anything else that's got a universal stamp on it or an ethereal feel to it. It's going to happen when it's going to happen. And I use that time to keep getting better and to keep getting more ideas. That's what I did with it. I never stopped doing it. It's the only thing that actually keeps me sane.
So, what personal challenges shaped your discipline and resilience as an artist?
The fact of the independence that comes with it, even though that you know that you're only going to get what you actually make. Like if you don't make any money, if you don't make the work that sells, you're not going to ever make any money. That's when I realized that money wasn't so much that wasn't the most important thing. It was, to me, was legacy. Legacy has become the most important part of my art. I don't want to leave this earth and then 2 weeks later, just completely forgotten. I'd rather be hanging on somebody's wall. As a matter of fact, I made the mistake when I first started doing my work. I tried to think of a slogan. I don't even know if I should say it. Because I was going to say, well, before you really, if you want to hang a black man, this is the way to do it. And I thought, I know. And I still think it's good, but it does send the wrong message.
That's why I like that.
It's little stumbling blocks like that that's kind of been my my stumbling block. Because I think of stuff and people don't see it the way I see it. But I thought it was a great way. Let me hang in your house. Let me hang a brother up in your house.
So let's transition over to your artistic development and creative process. Can you tell us how would you describe your artistic style to someone who has never seen your work?
Eclectic.
Okay.
And I say that because
many things.
If you look at, like say, if you look on my iPad or something like where you see over the years, fortunately, the iPad categorizes everything by the year, So, and you can see the difference. When I look through it, it's almost like I'm looking at a scroll of my life, so to speak. Because one thing I might be doing into runway shows and trying to do those, and then next thing I'm doing somebody who's really a great designer or a hairstylist or something like that, and I'm doing work for them. So it just depends. But it's I can see where it comes in waves. Something, as long as it's new and different, I'll try it. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and something will hit me, and I won't go back to sleep until I at least try it. Sometimes I get bored and I'll come up with stuff that I've never done before, like using household materials like salt, and making it just to get.
Really? So what does salt do?
Well, it's not so much just salt. Any seasonings and stuff, it gives you texture on a bread. So, like I did this picture of this young lady. She was going somewhere, but she had this gown made, and it was kind of like a mermaid's bottom at the bottom. I don't know what they call that bottom, but anyway, she wanted to sit on the floor, but she wanted to look really elegant in it, but she wanted it to be different. So, since it looked like a mermaid's fishtail to me, I thought of an aquarium. And I'm trying to figure out how do I get this rock effect, where it almost makes it 3D. So I use transparent glue, and I just use rock salt. Crushed it up. Then I use food coloring to give it the colors. All this without touching the photograph of her laying on the floor. And it came out really, really nice. But then I had another idea. I did it on plexiglass, same picture. But plexiglass, since you can see through it, you were able to put a light behind it, and it just lit up everything from behind.
Wow. So you got a lot of little processes that you use.
I try not to try to do anything that I've seen before, which is why I don't study other photographers, because I think once you see something like that, then you try, it's almost like you copy it subconsciously. I don't want to do that. I like the crazy stuff. Like my last series last year, I did a complete series on pieces that were made completely out of thread.
Okay.
And I think the one that maybe gave me the work that I'm doing now with Ross, with her daughter had seen it online, and I'll make complete your body, the whole face, everything out of thread. It takes a long while to do it, but it looks really good.
Yes, it does.
So
What
yeah, that
inspires?
was last year. This year
I'm sorry,
I'm into splash color.
what inspires your conceptual pieces and the themes you explore?
If it's a commission piece, it's the person that is commissioning me to do it. It's something about them that I will try to, I guess, incorporate in the picture, even if it's not them, but it's their energy, that the reason that they want this picture. So I'll do it that way. And then I never stop at one. You'll give me an image of what you want, and then I'll do it, but then I'm going to take it 7, 8, 9, 10 more steps, and somebody else will like it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I build my pieces.
Oh wow. How do you approach blending photography and digital designs and fine art?
Believe it or not, it blends itself. It's not about the techniques. If you have a technique that you use when you use paint and brushes, if that whatever that technique is, if you change and use the digital, you still have a flat surface. Paint on top of it. The skills that if you drop one of your skills because something else new comes out, then somewhere or another, somebody's losing. Is it you or is it the people that you serve?
Mhm.
That's why I say I'll mix it. It just depends on what the image looks like. I'll mix whatever ones come to my mind. Sometimes I just try
Wow,
them all. And I like mixing them all because that way, like I said, nobody can ever copy your work.
that's true. But I don't know with all this that you're doing, because it sounds like it's more than just art for what you're creating. How do your clients find you?
They find me either they've seen some work that I've done for someone else, or they go on Instagram. I try to keep a web page up, but that takes away from me doing the work.
Mhm.
But now the web pages are getting a lot simpler. When they first started with that, you had to get a web designer, and then you had to make sure that you can change the artwork out, and then you had to. It's a lot of work, and I'm not. I like things simple. And now you can throw up a web page. Uh, they can find me on Instagram. I got 2 pages on Instagram, and I got work on at Facebook. But if you really want to see the work that I do, all you got to do is hit me up, and I'll send you my promo videos. I like those much better because they're more me. I make sure that my music matches whatever it is you're going to look at, as opposed to just being a static page. It doesn't really sell me when it's just a regular website. The work will be fine, but when you listen to it with my music, you get and the way I lay it out, it expresses more or less like who I am, as opposed to a cookie cutter site.
Mm.
You got to
Well,
have more.
ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, you guys really need to see one of these collages that Richard puts together, because it definitely pulls you in as you're watching it with the music playing.
So you did get it, huh? When I sent you the stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, the music makes a big difference, don't you think?
Yeah, it does.
It
It really
does.
does.
Because
And
sometimes
so,
I'll spend more time picking the right songs to put with my promos than I do making the artwork itself. It just has to be
mhm,
right. It has to, because I'm trying to convey a mood, and I want you
mhm.
to get it.
Wow. So, what inspired you to create these collages in that way? Because when I first saw the first one that you let me see, you know, when I was listening to it with the music,
Hmm.
because it's like everything, just being honest, just my opinion,
Hmm.
it just synced so well that it's like for every point in the song and every picture came across, it was fitting.
That's just,
What
that's.
How does that work?
um, I would say something about 420, but I won't.
Okay.
It can help.
Okay.
uh, you just have to know your music. I mean, that's all I can say. And then the music got to have some kind of beat to it. So therefore, again, I'm going to my folks because they're going to give me that.
Right.
That other stuff was I can't do chaotic music. But it's just a mood. Like I won't put, like say if I got 15 pictures that I just did this week, I'm not going to put them all on it because they may not. There's one that has a mood that's going to a certain person or a certain group. I need them to get it right from the door. And you also got to do something to make yourself stand out a little bit because there's a lot of people out there can, as they say, I can take a picture. A lot of people, I'm so tired of people telling me, oh, I can take a picture like that. But then you should do that. That's what I tell you. You should do that. And then we'll bring it back to the table and we'll see what we can do. Like last week I was online and, I had this great picture of this celebrity, right? It was probably one of the best that I've ever done on her. And I was so proud of it. And I wanted to put it online in this particular group that's, supposed to be a fan-based group of hers. And the first thing people was out of their mouth was, it's AI, it's AI. And I'm like, what the hell? Is that all that you see? First of all, it wasn't AI, but they just kept saying that and it was driving me nuts. And I kept saying, because I sometimes get in battles online. But I also realized before I started, chopping heads, I looked at that was the first time that I ever got over 2,000 views from one shot.
Oh, wow.
2,000 views from one shot. And it never happened before. So then I had to think to myself, you got to let people have their opinion. Everybody's not going to like it. I get that. But I don't understand especially when it comes to us tearing down us. I just don't believe in doing that. They get on there. I don't care what you think it is, but if you don't like it, say nothing.
Right. That's true.
But don't get up there, especially when you see that there's a lot of energy around it. Why take it away? Why throw that out there? You know what I mean?
Well, Richard, I think that's the curse of being a creative. Because I think that once you are a creator and you're actually doing something that's flourishing and is getting noticed and people like it, some people that don't have that, they don't have the ambition, but they just decide, well, I just want to throw something in there. Let me throw some paint on that and mess it up.
Yeah. Like I told him, I said, well, listen, let me ask you something. When Michelangelo did the Sistine Chapel, they didn't have paintbrushes. He did it with rags and so forth, what I'm told. So when he started using a brush, did that make his work any less good? You know what I mean?
No.
When they stopped using Polaroid cameras and went to digital and film, got the film and went to digital, did that make the photograph any less effective? It did not.
No,
it just depends on what it is that you're shooting. Because, you can shoot a pecan and nobody's going to get excited about that because it's just a pecan. I don't care what you shoot it with. But if you add a little, like now you got AI, you can take that pecan and make it almost anything you want. But I think AI I think is wonderful. I'd be glad when people get the idea of what it really is and stop thinking that it's just this one thing. It's not. It just depends on. Actually, a photograph that's done via AI, it takes more creativity than taking a regular photograph with your camera. Because once you take it with your camera, it's a still shot.
Mm-hmm.
The outfit is going to be what the outfit is. The pose is going to be what it is. But with AI, you can manipulate all of that to be exactly what it is your mind sees. And if you don't even like, if they say they went home and then you don't like the color of the outfit, you can change it. It's not a diminishment of art. It excels it and pushes it up. And but I see it's going to take a long time before people realize that, it's actually a plus. But it also makes the photographer or the person using AI have to dig more into their brain for creativity. If you take a camera and you flip the shutter, there's not so much creativity there, huh?
But so when I think about that Richard, because I know a lot of times there are people that's overusing AI, and I know that now is like pretty much into any and everything that we do and we got. But when you've got folk that maybe are using AI to create these things, do you think that they're a little short-sighted where, they don't have the ability to be that more creative? They don't know how to critically think, and they're pretty much just doing something to see that they want to get the wow factor.
I don't think that AI has been around long enough where it has sunk into the vast majority of people to where that they stop looking at it as a shock thing. That, it's AI. It drives me crazy when they do that. But it's like, how can I say, when they came out with microwaves and people start saying, oh, microwaves is going to give me radiation. I can't use a microwave. Well, who doesn't have one now? You know what I'm saying? It has to fall into society. But the thing is, if you don't fully understand what it is, do your research before you get online and start tearing people a new one. And then on top of it, you're on the phone doing it, but the phone would not work without AI. We've been using AI long before it became a popular term.
Right.
You see, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
So therefore, I tell them, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was back in old Africa.
And then really now everything you turn around, it's AI. They think, this is your grandmother's picture. They didn't even have AI back then. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Anything that looks good now, if it's a perfect something, they scream AI. And AI, no, there's an easy way to tell when something's AI because it usually look like a cut-out mask. That's one of the first ways you can tell. It does, there's a lot of good AI artwork, and then there's some AI work that you can tell is quite amateur. You need to learn the difference between the two. And just because a person looks great in a photograph does not mean that it's done by AI. Maybe the photographer made it look great. Or maybe the person just looks great.
Right.
But hey, and then again, if you soft tone and take out a few wrinkles, which I'll be the first one to admit, I believe in cleaning up one's face, and taking out wrinkles, and because scientifically speaking, that if we didn't have all the pollution we had in the air and eat some of the things that we eat, your face would look just like how it looks when somebody airbrushes you. Our skin would look like that naturally. But since we don't, and I don't know anybody who wants to put a bad picture of themselves out. So, I just clean it up. I don't make you look unnatural. I just clean it up. And there's some people that really want their dark circles and their moles and everything to show up on the picture. Well, that's great. I know somebody I can send you to because I'm going to clean you up. I want you to look your absolute best person. Because if you think about it, back in the day, when people used to have those big mantles and they put those big portraits up over it, those people didn't look like that every day. They were done up for the picture. So to me, photographs are like your resume. You putting it out online, all these people looking at you. You don't want to be out there looking like you just came from the laundry. You want to look like you're going someplace or doing some things.
What is your creative process from idea to finished piece?
Sometimes you have to stop me. I will overwork a picture sometimes because I'll think it's finished and then I'll think of something else that I could do to it just to try it. I'll sit up and just try it. As you know, we talk late into the night, early in the morning. I'm at my best between 1 in the morning till 7 in the morning. I'm at my best because the rest of the world is still. Nobody's bothering me. Nobody's calling. There's no noise outside, and things just come. And I've learned to tap into that and actually to revel in that. I like that. That's the best part about my life right now, is that you get that 1 to 7 piece. Because in the daytime, you got the phones ringing, you got people knocking, you just got stuff going on. And the rest of the world is asleep. I can be up now.
Yeah, it's just team too much.
And I like that, team too much. Exactly. So, that's when I do my best work, though. Because in the daytime, when I try to do work, my mother, she'd sit there, she'll call me, she want to ask me something, then stop me, then you get all confused, and you lose your train. You lose that flow that you're on. So I try not to do anything in the daytime.
So how do you decide which images belong in your long-term archive?
That's one of the reasons I have a problem, because I don't ever throw anything away. Because I've learned that I can look at it a year from now and see something totally different than when I was, I don't want to use this one, because this picture feels better. But then I won't throw it away. I'll follow it. But when I look at it next year, I'm like, because you have to understand that during that year or 2 years or whatever, that space in between, I've learned to do something else that now maybe will apply to this particular picture that I thought was no good.
Mm-hmm. So what role does experimentation play in your evolution as an artist?
unnecessary is necessary. If I couldn't, if there was no room for experimentation, I'd be lost. I'd be lost because that's how I became. Well, that's how I became whatever it is that I am now. As far as my artwork, because I want to be. I don't want my work to look like everybody else. I don't want my work to look like the church fan. Remember the church fan, where the mother, the father, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. The church fan, no. I want people to look at it. Some relative of yours could look at it and say, "Wow, that's." Even if they just say that's different, I take that as a compliment. Even if they don't say it's nice, it's different. And I think it should, whatever your best feature is, that's the one I'm going to work with.
So, how do you stay creatively fresh after 4 decades of producing work?
Well, I'm an Aquarian, first of all. So Aquarians are pretty much known to be, they say 50 years ahead of their time. So therefore, I'm already ahead of myself, so to speak. But to be honest with you, I draw a lot from, even though I wasn't living then, but my favorite era is the 40s and 50s. I'd love to go back to that era and just pull elements of our people from that. Men used to dress in a way where they just really look like men, so to speak. There's no second guessing. Women were very individualized in their look when they got dressed. I remember seeing like my pictures of my mother and my aunts and stuff, back in the day. They used to really take it to a level, and they weren't making but pennies back then. So I was amazed at what they could do with little of nothing. And men with the pleats and the cufflinks and the tie bars, just stuff, man, that we don't really do these days. So I like to go back to that era because they were actually a lot more relaxed. They looked a lot better than most of us look in the street these days.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, back then, I remember my mother wouldn't even go to the mailbox without, like, the girdle on her. She got to be,
she had to be cute.
Yeah, I mean, but most women didn't go out there. They didn't wear braids out and stuff like that. Nothing's wrong with braids, don't get me wrong, but their hair was done.
Right.
And if it didn't, they had to have what they call a kerchief or a headscarf. Kerchiefs, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm just saying there was a pride about how you present yourself in the street. Even if you was a thug on the corner, you still had a little shirt on, those suspenders and baggy pants. You're still kind of fly. I'm not talking about rascals now. I'm not talking about them.
But but I think the standard from then to like now here in this 21st century, we clearly know that has changed because that kind of self-pride has kind of like been ushered out the door. When you had those kind of mature ladies and mature gentlemen that would be a part of your art, what were some of the things about their personalities that was so different then compared to these 40 years now?
Because one of the things about that strikes me as so odd is that they were a whole lot less educated and refined than a lot of us that's walking around today, this younger generation since then. But they had more foundation and more a stronger sense of ethics and morals, mm-hmm. which supersedes your bank account to me. Women act like women, back then. They have, not to say that they were docile, because, black women just weren't docile. I just don't see that at all. But they were respectable. Mm-hmm. And they demanded respect even when they didn't get it, because they warranted it. Whereas now, a lot of these that demand respect, maybe not so much warranted.
Right.
Yeah. Men wouldn't stand around and watch two women fight. Well, although I don't remember seeing any women fight back then, but they stand around now and watch them fight and root them on. And, and nothing's going to be, and it's never over until somebody pulls out a hair weave or a bust come out, a boob.
Right.
That's when the fight's over. It ain't going to end until then. And I don't know, just something about that. And then to put it on social media where other folks can see us, it just, goes against everything we fought against. You know, that's just the way I see it. Now, mind you, anybody who's having a problem with what I'm saying, understand this is just my opinion and only my observation. And this is how my artwork comes about. Because, like you said, men and women you had a different way of dressing back then. So if I dress someone in that fashion now, it makes that picture stand out that much more.
Yes, it does.
You see? So this is like you said, no, don't come on your show, you know, round collars. It makes it. I understand. It makes sense
Right.
because it makes sense because they're coming with a T-shirt and that neckline will be doing a thing, and you'll be like, I get you.
Yeah, I know because it does like we don't need to see that.
Right.
Yes.
So that's when. So when I do, if you look at the majority of my work, the outfits are usually not so much nondescript, but non how can I put dated. It's not dated. And I think men should look like men. You know, not all that, some of that stuff, no. And you know, there's certain people that I know that I can't shoot you because we're not going to be on the same wavelength. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother show.
Yes, that is. So, and I'm glad you breathe there because that caused me to breathe. Keep my mouth shut.
What artistic risk have shaped your growth the most?
Risk as an RISK or
Yes,
risk.
risk with an S.
Um, Putting myself out there as that my brothers were my forte.
Mhm.
I caught a lot of flack for that one.
Okay.
And the only reason I do that is because one, I can shoot 5 men in the time that it takes to shoot one woman. They don't have to get their hair done. They don't have to do their nails done. They don't bring them kids that you told them don't bring the kids. They don't, they don't do that. So I can get them done. And it's simple. You ain't got to worry about stockings. You ain't got to worry about none of that when you're dealing with men. But then on top of it, another reason why I went that route was because we were really getting the short end of the stick as far as the art world is concerned.
Mhm.
And women, it's really hard to not make a woman look beautiful. I mean, you can do a whole lot of things. You can change hair. You can do outfits. You know, with men, they just give you a shirt, a top, and a pants, and if you can't work that out, then you're not a focus. And I just don't see it that way because we have so much more to offer. So therefore, I put my energy. You know what they say about the road less traveled.
Mhm. Yes, sir. You froze. Hello? Richard, you froze. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to get Richard back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to be able to get Richard back onto the show. So let me just end the show with this closing monologue. And tonight we've had the privilege of stepping into the mind and memory of a man who has spent more than 40 years capturing the soul of our people. Through his lens, we see not just faces, we see history, emotion, resilience, and truth. His work reminds us that art is more than beauty, it is preservation, it is protest, it is testimony, it is love. As we close, let us honor the influence that shaped him and Virginia Richardson, Sidney Poitier, Barry Gordy, and recognize that each of us stands on the shoulders of giants who poured into us so we could pour into the world. To our guests, thank you for your vision, your discipline, your commitment, and your contribution to the cultural fabric of Black America. And to our viewers, keep telling your stories, keep honoring your roots, and keep shining your light. This has been America in Black and White. I am Charles King, and good night. And we will see you guys tomorrow night for another great show. Thank you. And